What kind of role do you play to promote diversity and inclusion? We're all playing a role, but what's your role? I'm Dr. Jonathan. I work with organizations to make them inclusive, and I'm on a mission to help a million people like you to make your workplace inclusive. Get your pen and paper ready because we're talking about the part that you're playing to create a more inclusive workplace. At the time that I'm recording this show, my LinkedIn profile says that I'm a diversity and inclusion protagonist. A what? A protagonist. What does that even mean? Sounds like one of those silly made-up titles that you see everywhere. You know what? You're half right. It's aspirational. We all love a good story. It's part of human nature. We communicate through narrative. In a story, the protagonist is the person who drives the story forward. They advance the plot. They play a central role in the overall narrative. Think of a film, a book, a TV show, any story that you love. One of the things that you're going to notice about this story is that any central character that you love, that you care about, they've got a strong motivation. They have character traits that you may identify with. Even if you don't identify with them, you clearly understand them. They often have character flaws too. These flaws make them human. They may have to overcome these flaws as part of the story in order to achieve their goal. One of the most compelling things about any story, any protagonist, is that they want something. Not only is it very clear what they want, but they keep talking about it. They do things in order to get what they want. I spoke about this recently on a LinkedIn Live with Vivian Aqua and Kay Fabella. I'll put the link for this in the show notes. A question was asked and I gave a response, and I gave a couple of examples. In Star Wars, Luke Skywalker, he wanted to become a Jedi. He kept talking about it, and everything he did brought him closer to becoming a Jedi. In Game of Thrones, Daenerys Stormborn wanted the Iron Throne. She kept talking about it, and everything she did brought her closer to claiming the Iron Throne. You may not be familiar with these characters. You may not even like these examples. You may even think that I've chosen examples from Western pop culture that perpetuates existing biases. I'm just making a point. The point being that there are some clear do's and don'ts. We're all human, but what makes a protagonist compelling is that there are things that they will do and there are things that they won't do. When they come up against an obstacle, it's exciting because you're thinking, what are they going to do next? Luke Skywalker can't join the dark side because that would stop him becoming a Jedi. Daenerys Stormborn can't settle for a kingdom outside of Westeros because that would stop her from getting the Iron Throne. By the way, these aren't spoilers. These are predictable traits of the protagonist based on what they want. That's why we like them. So what has any of this got to do with diversity and inclusion? Well, you're the protagonist of your own story. If you're here, it's because part of that story involves creating an inclusive workplace, a place where everyone can perform and everyone can belong. Everyone can reach their potential. So my question is, given the wide scope of this task, what's your role? What do you want? What are you willing to do and what are you not willing to do to achieve the thing that you want? What are your predictable traits based on what you want in terms of inclusion? I'm asking you this, but pretend that you're not going to tell anyone. The reason I say that is because this is one of those topics that has what social scientists call social desirability bias. You may want to give an answer that you think is more socially acceptable than your true answer. If I asked you in public if you're willing to make a commitment to diversity and inclusion, it would be socially desirable, socially acceptable for you to say yes. You may even feel obliged to make a greater commitment than you're comfortable with because you may be concerned that other people are going to see you in a negative light if you don't. I don't like that kind of approach. I don't want to do that, so let's pretend that you're not going to tell anyone. The reason I'm saying this is I feel that part of my role is to protect you, to inform you, to educate you. You already know what I want. I'm on a mission to help a million people like you to make your workplace inclusive. That means I've got predictable traits based on what I want. I've got predictable behavior based on what I want. I had a conversation last week with someone who wanted me to get involved in a panel event. And you can think of this as one of my character flaws that I need to overcome, because I'm biased against panel events because they're often used in such lazy ways. They're often not very effective, unless, for example, they're part of an ongoing program of change. They're practical, or the people speaking are there for their knowledge and expertise and not their title, not their status. As a regular listener, you've heard me say this before. I wasn't able to get involved with this event. Maybe it's a flaw and maybe I have to overcome it. But given what I want, it was tough for me to get involved with this particular event because of the way that it was organized. I even followed up with them afterwards, and these are people I know. And I sent them a list of things that were easy decisions for us and for me personally. A couple of the things that I said is that it has to be acutely aligned with our demonstrated values and ways of working. It has to be something that seeks to establish a standard higher than the marketplace. It has to be something that proactively protects my clients. And that means you. I treat you as if you're a client because I'm trying to protect you from the mistakes that everyone's making. I'm interested in anything that's likely to help me to help you more. That's predictable given my role, given what I want. So that's me. What about you? What's your role? What do you want? You don't have to be on a mission to help a million people. You don't even have to be on a mission. But if you get clarity about what you want, you can then make simple decisions, predictable decisions about how you act in order to get what you want. So let's wrap this up. What are the key messages here? 1. Understanding what you want makes you the protagonist in your own story. 2. Understanding what you want helps you to define your role in creating inclusion. And 3, understanding what you want helps you to define your behavior in creating inclusion. So what do you think? What do you want specifically in terms of inclusion? Get in touch or leave a message. I would love to hear from you. If you've learned something from today's show, then give us a review on iTunes. It helps other people like you to find the show. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.